Mandy, it is so good to see you. As you know, September is coming up, which is Recovery Month, which is obviously a big deal to us. We've been in this space for, 15, 20 years, if not a little bit more. And it's just been crazy. And it's awesome to see where we're at, to be able to create conversation, create awareness, and have some discussion around something that means so much to us and that has obviously affected us in so many different ways, both the good and the bad. And so, Mandy, maybe you can just give a quick high-level overview for our listeners and our viewers of who you are and what it is that you do.
I'm Dr. Mandy Diamond. I am a licensed clinical forensic psychologist. So I worked in the prison system for about 5 years. From there, went to working in addiction recovery, which have been doing that since 2008, which seems like a very long time. And 11 years ago, I started my own group practice in Mission Viejo. So that's kind of me.
Let's go. I know 2008. I mean, we met about 2 years after that. So we've known each other for a long time. We did some work together in the treatment space for some years. Some of the best time in my life in the recovery space was working with you and your husband. And I'll never forget those days. But look, I want to bring some things up. I want to really kind of cover a couple different topics here with you. That gets brought up often with individuals that are in recovery and or those that are directly impacted by the disease of addiction that don't have the knowledge or the wherewithal, right? So the first thing I really want to talk about is recovery is a mindset, right? And so like for me, I always tell people that there's a big difference between being abstinence of drugs and alcohol versus living a life in recovery. Can you tell me what that means when you hear me say that, like from your perspective?
I mean, immediately when I hear recovery as a mindset, like absolutely, it's not just abstaining from alcohol. That's one aspect of it. But recovery as a mindset really truly is the connection of your thoughts, your feelings, and in your emotions, and how big of a role they play in the journey to recovery, which is your overall growth, not just in staying abstinent, but in the recovery process, the journey of healing and kind of growing and becoming yourself again and the best version of yourself. So I hear kind of that connection of all of it together, which that is what the journey of recovery really truly is. And the mindset that goes into that is what's crucial in the success, I think, of that.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just drugs and alcohol, people would just go to detox for anywhere from 3 days to 14 days and come out and be on their happy way, right? So, I mean, I think that's important to understand is the depths that go behind this. And that's where we hear about like, individuals that struggle or that are sober, abstinence of drugs and alcohol, but they're white knuckling it.
Absolutely. They're just abstaining, but they're not actually truly in recovery and in the healing process.
100%. So why does this is like a great question that gets brought up often and even challenges, addiction as a disease. Why does recovery require more than willpower?
I mean, recovery requires more than willpower because addiction is a chronic brain disease and it alters the brain chemistry, it alters the neural pathways. So when you look at how it affects the brain, which controls everything that we do, willpower alone is insufficient to overcome addiction. You can't just have willpower and think that that's going to be sufficient enough to rewire the brain that is affected by a chronic brain disease.
Can you give an example of like how addiction takes over from like a normal brain versus a person that struggles with an addictive brain?
Yeah, I mean, addiction completely rewires a person's brain. Addiction fundamentally changes the brain structure and it changes the brain function as well because it hijacks the reward system. And so in that process, it alters like key neurocircuits and like the neural pathways. And when that happens, it weakens impulse control. And then when impulse control actually gets weakened, it results in addiction behaviors becoming extremely habitual and extremely compulsive.
It's so crazy. And I mean, isn't it fair to say too, like, especially those that struggle with addiction from the prefrontal cortex standpoint, which is your executive operating system, it like basically completely shuts off. Like when somebody uses it, completely closes, which is like your daily decision making.
Everything. I mean, you're looking at when that gets kind of shut off and these other areas of the brain in a way become overactive, and the things that are supposed to like protect you. I mean, we are not supposed to just kind of go with all of our impulses, and especially go with the bad ones that are gonna like hijack the reward system to where our brain starts thinking like, oh wow, like I have to do this so that I get this massive like dopamine hit, and then nothing else can compare to that.
Yeah, no, it's so fascinating. So what does rewiring your mindset look like in practical terms?
I think rewiring your mindset in practical terms, like I break it down to that it looks like hope. Like if you could kind of design and see hope, it is literally becoming the best version of yourself, and it is becoming resilient, because that is like the journey of recovery. You become so resilient, and when you rewire your mindset, you start making positive changes and positive decisions and choices. You become, like I said, the best version of yourself. So a better version today than you were yesterday. You start believing like success is possible. Like I'm not just going to fail at everything. I can be successful. You have this willingness like to learn new skills and new abilities. And then I think one of the key pieces is you start seeing setbacks as learning experiences instead of this huge like massive failure that creates shame and guilt. So for me, like rewiring kind of the mindset is literally seeing hope.
I love it. I love it. What are some small mindset shifts that people can make in like early recovery to help benefit themselves?
Oh my gosh, three kind of come to mind like immediately for me. I would say like growth mindset, well, having a growth mindset, developing the mentality of progress, not perfection, and focusing on like the small gains and kind of what you're gaining. So I think to like break those down, like what I mean by like growth mindset is what I was saying prior, like the ability and the belief, like I can develop like new ways of thinking and new abilities. It's recognizing like, oh my gosh, I am growing and I am becoming stronger every single day. And like
Yeah.
the other one, like progress, not perfection mentality. Oh my God, it's like learning to give yourself grace through like the ups and downs and navigating life with this part of like when you're at the end of your rope and you finally let go, like knowing like grace is going to meet you right there. You know, it's like, I think that's that part of it's about progress, not like, oh, I have to be perfect with it. And
Yeah.
then focusing on the gains. I mean, gosh, I mean, like the thing I've always heard is like when someone's first getting sober and they're like, but I'm losing so much and I'm giving up. And it's like, no, you're taking one thing out. Let's focus on what you're gaining. You're gaining self-respect. You're probably going to gain a stronger connection with your family that you may have like lost and be able to rebuild that. You're going to gain so many new possibilities and like a newfound freedom that you've never had before. So for me, those are like the three mindset shifts, you know, that I think are practical and that immediately come to mind.
Which ultimately, like when you say that, what comes to mind for me is it allows the opportunity for somebody to develop purpose and passion again within their life, right? And I think like some of the simple things that I incorporated too to add, because everything you said is amazing, but I think even understanding if you're in a position to where you can develop consistency and structure, which ultimately creates safety, And so I think those are all combined. If you can kind of look at that, get into routine, get into structure, because I think all these things that you're alluding to, the small wins, the victories, it all leads to purpose and self-worth, which a lot of us lose sight of when we're active in addiction.
Yeah, 100%.
How can loved ones support someone who is trying to change their thinking patterns? Good question.
That's a great question. Oh my gosh. I mean, I work with, loved ones all the time in my private practice. I still get a lot of people within sobriety and recovery after working in it so long. And the one thing I tell, especially the spouses that kind of come in of give unconditional support. It's not just about unconditional love, it's unconditional support. Be encouraging. When someone, you're fighting addiction and that journey and the pain of everything, you need someone to be a cheerleader for you and giving you constant encouragement. You need understanding. So be understanding. I think one of the biggest things is be non-judgmental, which can be hard, but it is from a loved one's support of just being non-judgmental. Utilize active listening, actually listen to the struggle. What are you feeling? What are you going through? What is hard for you today? And hear that. And I think one of the biggest things is don't give unsolicited advice.
So good. So good. Okay. So in closing to this, such fantastic takeaways and advice in all of this, but what is one mindset shift you would encourage anyone in recovery to try today?
Oh my gosh. I would say probably focus on the wins, of all the wins for the day. You get up, you got dressed, if you made your bed, you ate something healthy, focus on all of the wins, take it really truly, stay in the present, the whole one day at a time philosophy of what are the wins of today? What are the right decisions I made? I would say that, alone, just when you focus on the wins of every single day, that is a way to literally rewire your thinking into a more positive way so that you really truly see the success and growth in the day. So, that would be the thing I would say.
I love that. I think those little wins turn into something. If you can increase your life and improve by 1% every single day for 1 year, you'll be 36% better.